Hi, my name is Joy, and tonight we're going to delve into the realm of super low glycemic alternative sweeteners. So you're probably going to ask at some point, what is the point of an alternative sweetener, especially a super low glycemic one? What do we need that for? Why can't I just have sugar? You know, if you are relatively healthy and you use sugar occasionally, you use it in moderation, there's absolutely nothing wrong with sugar. Actually, it's perfectly fine. But in this culture, we abuse sugar, and we kind of don't know what moderation really is. So it's created a whole host of health problems where sugar can't be used. For example, if you are healing from systemic candida, if you have had gastric bypass surgery for weight loss, if you are diabetic, and if you are on the strict phases of the low-carb diet, you can't use sugar. It's not going to work. So if you have these things in your house, for example, if you've got honey, you can't use it. So you're going to get rid of it. If you have any kind of granulated sugar, brown sugar, maple sugar, white sugar, powdered sugar, it can't be used. So you're going to have to get rid of it. If you've got maple syrup, brown rice syrup, agave nectar, all of these, although agave nectar is real sexy right now, it's the hot sugar, the hot sweetener right now. If you're on any of those restricted diets, you're not going to be able to use this. Particularly if you're on a candida restricted diet, or if you're on a restricted diet that helps to kill candida. If you have any of those things, including agave and brown rice syrup, it's going to feed the candida and it's going to start you back at square one. So you got to get rid of all of those things in your pantry. By the way, just as a side note, if you have table salt, get rid of it. It has dextrose, and dextrose is sugar, so you might as well go ahead and toss that. You can replace that with sea salt. So now that we've gotten rid of all of the sugars that feed certain things or that raise your blood glucose level, you're probably wondering what you can use to sweeten things. That's a pretty good question. And I have some things that I want to just show you that I use in the recipes that I've been making. One of the first ones that a lot of people are starting to become more familiar with is stevia. Stevia, in the old days when stevia first came out, stevia was a leaf, and it was sold as a dry leaf, and you used to put it in your herbal teas and sweeten things that way. So somebody got savvy and they decided that maybe we could make stevia white and use it for other things. It was a pretty good concept, I think. Stevia generally comes, if you get pure stevia, it comes in a small bottle. This is about 25 grams. It comes in a small bottle like this. Get the pure kind. Don't get the ones that are mixed with lactose or maltodextrin. Those are both sugars, and it defeats the whole purpose of getting something that doesn't have sugar. And you want to make sure when you buy your stevia that you have a little scoop in there, because this acts as teaspoons. This acts as teaspoons. So one of these is 1 level teaspoon of sugar when you put it in your coffee or tea or whatever you want to sweeten. The nice thing about stevia is that it's much sweeter than sugar, 300 times sweeter than sugar, and a little goes a long way. So I've had this jar probably for about 3 months now, and I've only used half of it. The not so great thing about stevia is that if you use too much, it takes on a bitter taste, and the whole point of using it to make sweets is to have a sweet taste, not a bitter taste. It also registers on the bitter receptacles of your tongue. It doesn't necessarily register at the tip where the sweet receptacle is. So if you're just starting out and you've never used stevia before, it's going to take you some time to get used to where the sweetness is actually registered in your tongue. So this is still a very useful sweetener for baking. It doesn't provide any browning, and it doesn't provide any moisture. So it only provides sweet. So you're going to have to use some other things combined with stevia to give some other texture to your baking. That would be vegetable glycerin. Vegetable glycerin is actually a colorless, odorless, thick, syrupy-like liquid, and it's derived from an oil, from usually vegetable oil or palm oil. It is water soluble though. Vegetable glycerin provides that moisture that you need, but when you heat it, it loses some sweetness. So it's generally combined with something else, generally stevia, in your baking. I generally use this only for baking. I don't necessarily use it for anything else to sweeten. It just doesn't, there's other things that you can use. There's also something called erythritol. Erythritol is part of the family of sugar alcohols. There's xylitol, maltitol, sorbitol. All of those cause gastric distress. What is the point of eating something sweet if your stomach doesn't like it? It makes no sense. With erythritol, that has been eliminated as long as you keep things in moderation. So if you're going to use erythritol all the time for your sweetening needs, you are going to have some gastric distress. You know, just one of those things that you have to deal with. It acts the most like sugar, looks the most like sugar. It almost tastes the most like sugar. It's not a sweet. It's only 70% sweet. So you'll have to use more, or you can combine it with another sweetener. Erythritol is not great for candy making. It's great for baking when you need that volume and you need that feel, you know, that feel that you have when you use sugar. But if you try to make candy out of it, since it's a sugar alcohol, it's not going to act the same. Sugar melts very well. Erythritol or any other sugar alcohols, they don't melt very well. So it's going to be a little bit more tricky to start making candy with something like this. Also, you can use something called yuccan syrup. This is a root, and it's grown in South America. South America also, stevia is also popular in South America. Unfortunately, this is not open, so I'm not going to open this, but it looks exactly like molasses. And the taste is very thick. It's a very thick liquid that has a similar consistency of honey, but the taste is more like molasses.